Hello, welcome to Where We Knit. My name is Kristen, and on this podcast, I talk all about yarn and all things knitting and fiber. I'm coming to you with a little bit of a scratchy voice, so please excuse that. I have been sick once again and just getting over a really bad virus. In this podcast, it's all about vacation knitting. I have been dying to do a video on vacation knitting. So you might be wondering, what do you mean by vacation knitting? So in this podcast, I'm talking about probably like 5 or 6 projects that I've got my eye on for things that I would knit on vacation. Now, does this mean car trips? Not really. I'm focusing more on what you would bring if you were going on an airplane, staying somewhere, and then taking an airplane back to your home. So I have had the opportunity to travel quite a bit most recently. And before I start this podcast, I want to talk to you a little bit about today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is Level8 Cases. Level8 Luggage is a modern brand born in New York City. They pride themselves on innovation, design, and durability, functionality. I was gifted this beautiful Celadon cover Voyager 20-inch because I don't like to check my luggage. Their wide handlebar serves as a distinctive visual signature, which features 4 levels of height to adjust and accommodate various users. I love their packing cubes. I was also gifted these amazing packing cubes. Packing cubes allow me to organize all of the things that I need to put into my luggage. And it also gives me the opportunity to pack more within the space of the luggage. I really love that they have a featured compartment with wet-dry separation for waterproof storage. I take packing for a trip very seriously. I'm very meticulous about what I pack, how much I pack, and I'm very conscious about not overpacking. I don't usually check luggage when I go on a trip, even if it's 2 weeks long and it's going to Europe. I just don't. So I am very planful when I'm packing for a trip, even if it's for a weekend or if it's 2 to 3 weeks long. I love Level8 stylish design, and I especially love their TSA custom lock. Please see the show notes for the 10% discount code that Level8 is offering you. Thank you to Level8 for sponsoring this podcast today. So at the beginning, you saw on the B-roll that there was a lot of me knitting on a beach, knitting on an airport, knitting on an airplane. I have to say, I'm one of those travelers where I bring 3 projects. And you're probably wondering, how do you fit them all? Well, it's because I bring smaller projects. As much as I think about packing, I also am very meticulous about packing my knitting. Now, I want to back up for a second and say that I never check bags. So I travel with my husband and my children too, sometimes now that they're older. And my spouse refuses to check luggage. And so we've had this for the last 25 years we've been married, right? I never check luggage because we've got TSA, we've got Clear, we've got everything. He travels for work, so he knows the ins and outs of airports and best thing here and do this and what we pack. And so I've learned that for the last 20 some years. So we don't check luggage. So I'm very meticulous on how I pack my clothing. You saw that on the video from Level8 Cases. Whatever I can fit in a carry-on and then my carry-on luggage, I put my knits in my carry-on luggage that goes under the seat. And so I'm very meticulous and really plan out what yarn I'm taking, what needles I need, and then a small little tiny notions pouch that I'll put a picture up here. I don't know where that notions pouch came from because it was a gift from my friend Rianda. I love it. It's like this big and I can fit anything I need in it for traveling. So I digress. Now I will say that I really do like packing cubes, not only for my clothing, but I also like them for my knitting. So I'm going to show you how I have packed some knitting projects for a recent trip. And it was a pair of socks, a hat, and then like for a project that I was something else I was working on. And it worked out well. And I always have the needles that I need. I really scour patterns to make sure that I have everything I need. But mostly I use my patterns from my iPad. So on my iPad, I download my patterns onto my iPad and then into the Books app on my iPad. That way I can make notes and check off whatever I need, but I think it's really, really helpful. So I want to talk about 5 to 6 patterns that I really scoured and put in a bundle on my Ravelry. My Ravelry is whereweknit, and all the things that I talk about today will be put on the show notes. Let's talk about the first pattern. It's free. It's by the Lamb Kid. And it is a fingering weight shawl that, not shawl, sorry, it's a bandana. But I love it. I think it would be the perfect, it's on my list for summer travel. You need 240 yards of a main color and 105 of a contrast color. It's bottom up, increasing every 2 stitches every row. Ripple stitches seem easy to manage. I've downloaded the pattern. It's in my books. I'm going to use stash yarn, and I think that this bandana is just gorgeous, and you can really play with some cool colors. This would also be, I start thinking about Christmas knitting too, and holiday birthday knitting, and this would also be a really good gift that I'm thinking about. The next pattern is the sherbet pattern. Here it is here. Again, free pattern, again by Lamb Kid. So darling. This one is Aran weight on like size 8 needles. You need 174 yards. You don't need to pack very much. It would be a project you could literally do if you had a layover, I feel like. They use Big Birdie. You could use 2 strands of something else held together. I'm thinking I love Fiber MacGyver, Surrey. I've got my eye on this Surrey that's in my stash that I could use. And I think this would be another fabulous gift, but also I just love a little something around my neck. This neon in this photo is chef's kiss. The next pattern that I want to talk about in the bundle is also a free pattern. This is by an Italian knitter, is what she calls herself. And it is an Italian summer scarf. Worsted weight. They used Line by Sandnes Garn, which I have 3 skeins in my stash right now, using size 6 needles. I think this is the perfect wrap. Like, when sometimes you're on an airplane, for instance, and you get on and it's super, super hot and you strip down to whatever you need to. And then once you get up in the air and the air conditioning's on, in the summer especially, you get a little chill. This is just perfect. You can put it in your bag when you don't need it, but also just wrap it around. I think you could also just tie it to your handbag if you need to. I think this is the perfect scarf for travel. And just outdoors at night in the summer. So this is on my list for summer, especially during some travel coming up for me. The next free pattern is the Dumpling Bag by Pearl Soho. I love this bag. It's been in my queue for a really long time. It's DK weight. You'd need 1 skein. They made it in their Blackbird linen, so check your stash, people, and see what you've got. This would be a perfect gift. This would be a perfect thing to have for an evening out or just running to the grocery store. I love how it closes. I think it's darling. You could knit it in any color. Size 5 needles, 1 skein. I'm really thinking about using the DK weight of Ritual dyes. I'm going to put the name of the yarn right here because I can't remember it. I've used it before. It's at my local yarn store, Dandelion Fiber, and I would love to have this little dumpling bag. All right, I'm going through these really quickly, but I think you're gonna love the bundle that I put together. These are only like 6 that I've put together here to talk about on the podcast, but there's more in my Ravelry bundle. The next one is a pattern by Emily Boldon. It's another free pattern. It is the hot water bottle cover. I'll put it right here. Love it. I love a hot water bottle cover. I think this one would create a little bit of interest. DK weight, size 4 and 6 needles, just 1 skein for a leftover project. From a leftover project, it's just perfect for vacation knitting. If you finish it, it doesn't take up a lot of space. That's the other piece I wanted to talk about too, is that if you finish a project, it's not going to fill up your suitcase or your carry-on. Like, you can tuck it in anywhere. And I have gotten really creative on, especially when I go to Rhinebeck and I'm buying yarn, using these packing cubes. These are the ones by Level8. Using these packing cubes are just such a fabulous idea you can really cram a ton of yarn in here without it snagging or, getting all messed up. I mean, you could really fit a ton in these as well as projects. Like, I use them for projects too. So, packing cubes, can't say enough about them. But the hot water bottle cover, I think, is another great idea for a gift, but also a perfect little summer knit while you're traveling. And then the last one I wanted to talk about is, I haven't made this, but I have been eyeing these forever. I am a huge fan of Leslie Friend. I watch her podcast. I love her style. She's so chic. And she is becoming a really prolific designer now, and I'm loving the things that she's putting out. She just put out a vest that's on Ravelry, but one thing that she and I have in common is I love having my wrists covered. So, and this has been forever. Like, when I was a little kid, going in Minnesota winter, I always was that kid that needed to have my mittens tucked into my jacket so my wrists wouldn't get wet and also snow in there. And so Leslie has the perfect thing for an adult, for me, called Toast. And Toast, here's a picture of them here. Now you can, the pattern creates it so it's kind of like a leg warmer, but for your wrists. That's how I put it, actually. So you can they're like fingerless gloves, or they could be just like this little piece that goes from here to here that just keeps your wrists warm. Now, these are perfect for early mornings. Like, in my house, we cut our heat way back, so our house gets cold at night. And then in the morning when I get up to knit before work or whatever, the house is so freezing. So putting these on with my pajamas would be perfect. And so I want to talk about the yarn that she uses, but also I've used this yarn before. And this is called Turtlepurl yarn. She is out of Canada, and I love her yarns. I have used this before for a pair of socks, actually 2 pair of socks that I've given away, one for my mother, one for an aunt. And here are the pictures here of these adorable self-striping socks. Now, this one is called Trench Coat. And I have to say, Leslie made these and they look so great with like a crisp white button down. The Trench Coat colorway looks like this. Okay, I know I've showed you a couple of them, but I love that the cool thing about these Turtlepurl yarns, self-striping, is that the yarn is dyed to be self-striping, and the idea that she puts these 2 little minis together means that your socks will absolutely 100% match. So when you're winding your yarn, you wind it from the same size, which will get you 2 matching socks with the stripes in the same places. Now, if you know the sort of chic-y brand called Burberry, what this turns out to be, this trench coat colorway, turns out to be the Burberry sort of plaid looking, not plaid, but you know what I'm saying? It's the same colors as the Burberry plaid or their signature colorways, which is brilliant. She has a bunch of different colorways. You kind of have to hit it at the right time on her website. But the cool thing is I reached out to her. I purchased these. She is giving you, my viewers, a discount code. So check out in the show notes the discount that you'll be getting. So it's only one customer or one discount per customer, okay? And 10% off her self-striping yarn. Not her mini bundles, not anything else, but simply her self-striping yarn. So check it out. I will put all the details in the show notes, but it's great to support these dyers who, this cannot be easy to make these self-striping yarns, and especially the time that she puts into it to make sure that they match. Anyway, check them out. But I was introduced to Turtlepurl yarn by Leslie Friend, and that's why I continue to support her and continue to support these Turtlepurl self-striping yarns. So check her out. Lastly, I want to talk a little bit about, before I share my favorite things, I want to talk a little bit of what I've got on the needles. I've been pretty sick, so I haven't had the time to really knit as much as I'd like, but I am teaching a class on mosaic knitting, and at my local yarn store. Usually my podcast is filmed at Dandelion Fiber here in Minneapolis. It is the place where I teach classes and the local yarn store that I predominantly buy my yarn. And I love Tiff and Lara. If you have a chance and you're in Minneapolis, I highly recommend that you check them out. The palette and the yarns that they've created for their space are my favorite. So I'm teaching a class on the pattern Hey Sailor, which is a pattern of a cute little mosaic cardigan by Andrea Mowry. And it came out, I think, last summer. And it's knit with, I mean, this is bananas how I just put this away. I should have really looked at this. I am knitting mine in the suggested yarn in the pattern, which is Knitting for Olive Cotton Merino. I love that yarn. It's carried at my local yarn store. If you love Knitting for Olive, Dandelion Fiber carries a lot of the colorway. So instead of paying shipping from Denmark, you can pay it from Minnesota or visit the yarn store. Anyhow, I love it. I am using lime yellow. I want to call it lemon lime. I wish it was called lemon lime. And navy. So these are my two colors that I'm using. So that is on my needles, and I'm working feverishly because since I'm teaching the class, I really feel like I should have a lot of progress. So when we get to splitting for sleeves or we get to picking up for the ribbing, I'm hopefully there. I might not be, but I'm going to try super hard. And then the other one that I'm working really hard on is Limoncello, which is a cardigan that's in the Knits to Wear book by Kiko Kotova, Veronica Lindbergh. And so I've made a ton of progress on it. I feel really happy about being on the ribbing at the bottom. I am using, the two yarns that I am using, for this is Kos by Sandnes Garn, which is a really lofty, sort of nice, bulkier weight yarn. And I had this in my stash for about 4 years. So, and if you've watched my other podcasts, you know that I'm really trying hard to stash down. I don't want to say it too loud just because I'm trying, but it doesn't always work that way. But anyway, Drops Kid Silk mohair. It's not the softest mohair that I've ever used. It's not my favorite, but I'm using it up. I had 4 skeins of it. So the only thing that I really have left on this cardigan are the sleeves and the ribbing that goes around the outside. So I love it. I think I'm really gonna love this next fall. It's gonna be too heavy for me for this spring, but I always love to, it doesn't bother me to knit things out of season. So like for instance, I have precisely 38 working days left before summer break. I'm a teacher. And if you're wondering if I'm counting down, I am. Yep, I am. I can't wait. I do a little jig at the end of the school year. Man, I love the students that I teach every year, but to have the summers off is such a benefit for me, and I knit all summer long. So with that said, I use the wooliest of wools. I don't just knit summer projects, or like summer garments. I do a few here and there, but I have some that have been on my list and my winter knitting plans or fall knitting plans. This is my first year having this podcast, and I did a fall knitting plan, and I still have 2 things on that I have in the works, but I have not finished. And so if you're wondering, I wonder why she's not doing spring and summer knitting plans. I can't do them. I watch them. I love to watch other knitters and what they're inspired by, but I can't commit. It just feels like for me, I don't want to commit. I feel like I'm too tied to it. So I have a lot of ideas and they're written down just on paper, but I'm not going to podcast about them because I don't want to be tied to that. Let's see. Let's move on to favorite things. I love a good greeting card. I love to look at cards, but I tend to like the more expensive ones, the letterpress but I want to support people who have a good sense of humor and who like quality paper. I love getting a good greeting card in the mail, and I love sending cards to my friends. I feel like that's a lost piece now that we can just text someone happy birthday, or we can just text someone to tell them that we're thinking about them. But I love a good, sometimes sort of naughty greeting card. Not naughty, but you know what I mean? Doesn't always have the best language. And this one, is probably one of my favorites. I bought like 3 of them, and I need to keep one just for the right moment. You know how you just have to have something kind of like your yarn. You have to have your yarn that you've been coveting forever just for the right project. This has to be just for the right moment. Here it is. Things I never thought I would say as a parent. Please don't touch the dog there. I think it's hysterical because it's true. If you're a parent, there are things that you never thought that you would say. Kind of like as a teacher. I never thought I would say, please stop licking my pants. Yeah, I've said that before. Or hands on your own body, please. I almost say that every day. Anyhow, I digress. I love a good greeting card. You can write your own message in the inside. It is on letterpress. It's like super nice paper. Here's the person who is the creator of this fantastic card. And I just got it at a local gift shop. So that's one of my favorite things. The other favorite thing is, this is, again, I've talked about it several times in this podcast, and also it's part of my sponsorship today, and that is packing cubes. I love using packing cubes. It's the only way to get, like, when we just recently went to Dominican Republic for spring break, it's like my suitcase, every time I travel with my friends and things like that too, and they see how much I brought and that I can fit it into a 20-inch that goes in the overhead bin, they're like, how did you do that? I'm a master packer. I had probably 4, I'm not even going to tell you, I had 4 sundresses. I had 5 swimsuits. I had 2 cover-ups. I had 2 pairs of pajamas. I had 3 pairs of shoes. Literally, I could do a podcast on packing. So I take great pride in saying that I love a good packing cube because you can really pack more in your suitcase because it's all compact in those little packing cubes. And Level 8, I do have to say, they have these packing cubes with these little things right here that kind of tell you what's inside of them. I think they're adorable. So it's Velcro, and then you get a whole array of like little things that can tell you what's inside of it. So like this could be like your lotions, here's your dirty laundry, here's if you want to put shoes in them. Like maybe you're a runner and you put shoes and your shoes are all gunky or whatever. I don't know. I think, this one is for maybe cosmetics. The ones that I have in my suitcase right now have like a little pants and shirt on them. So you can kind of label what's in your packing cube, which I think is brilliant, actually. And then the very last thing, my very last favorite thing is a podcast that I haven't mentioned. I watch it often. It's the Wool Hands Needles podcast. And here is a picture of her last one she just did, right here. Taylor is her name. She's also a yarn dyer. Fiber for the People is her yarn. I've never knit with her yarn. I've never purchased her yarn. It's beautiful. I just never purchased it. She's out of Las Vegas, Nevada. She is a mom of 2 boys. She's a voracious reader. She's a former teacher. There's so many things I have in common with her. She's a podcaster. But the thing I love the most about her podcast and why I am listing it as one of my favorites is because she does some serious research before she films. Her editing's incredible. She puts mine to like total shame, but she's fantastic. And the last one the last podcast that she just was like filmed this week that I listened to on the way home. I don't watch it. I just listen. It just goes through the audio in my car. is all about tariffs and knitting. And it is 100% not political. She does not name names. She does not name parties. She does not do anything except for give you the facts on how tariffs could affect our craft. Maybe, we don't know. But she's done some serious research on this, and I really value hearing factual information, like real facts. I feel like it's really hard to distinguish right now what is really factual and what is real. And I trust that the information that she brings, to our community is facts, and or are facts. And so check her out. And at least if that's not your gig and you like to see projects and things like that, she has that too. But a lot of the things that she talks about are really factual information, and they are jam-packed with facts. So I'm going to put the link to her last video all about tariffs and knitting and how it could affect our craft, how it could affect yarn dyers in the United States, and the actual yarn dyers around the world, and how it could affect our local yarn stores. I mean, this is the time that we really have to support our local yarn stores. So I mentioned mine. I'm going to put a link to their store in my show notes. And that's all I have for you today. I'm looking forward to filming more often this summer. Right now is crunch time at the end of the school year with assessments and wrapping up the end of the school year, not to mention the fact that I am also planning a grad party for my youngest son, who is graduating this year. Super bittersweet. I will be an empty nester on August 18th of this year. It feels weird. He's made a college decision, and we've got 2 kids to move in, of course, the same weekend of August. My heart. What I'm wearing today, last thing, I don't know the name of the pattern, and I don't know the yarn. It was knit probably during COVID, 2020, probably 5 years ago. And the reason I don't know is because I am horrible and don't list my projects on Ravelry. It's a goal. I told you that a while ago. No work has been done on it. That's why I don't do project videos. Notice that I decided to look outside and I couldn't look at the camera when I told you that. Anyhow, this is a pattern by Greene. I believe it has something to do with fireworks. Maybe it's called fireworks. I'm going to do some research on it. I might have knit it in Magpie Fibers. It's a superwash yarn. I know that for sure. I do really love it. I only wear it in the spring. It has really cool detail, and it was a blast to knit. So Greene, search her patterns on Ravelry. She's got a ton of them. It's a great pattern. I think she did it as a knit along. I know I knit it in July. I know it had to do with the 4th of July. That's why I think it's called something to do with fireworks. Anyway, all right, have a great couple weeks, and I'll see you next time. If you liked my content, please give me a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button, because it does make a difference for my channel. Thanks so much. Bye.